Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek Jain, and through this video, I'm just gonna explain how can you use one of the Python library, which is known as a Matplotlib, which actually help us to create, any kind of plot based on the data points which we have collected, right? And I came across with this library, when one of my team member asked me, I mean, he wants to just create a graph where he would just want to compare, the test execution time among releases, right? And this is what I was able to come across, which you can see on my screen, right? Then I thought, I mean, it would be good, for beginners to get to know about this matplot library because it's really, really easy to use. And the person who developed this, his name is John D. Hunter, and he was a neurobiologist, right? And he actually, started building this library, right? So without any delay, let's get into the demo part. So I just created a project in PyCharm, so you can use whatever library you want to use. What's it? Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create one Python file, and I'm just gonna matplotlib_demo. Okay, so as we know in Python, if you want to use any library, you have to install it. So you can see the terminal. Let me just increase it. So you just need to use a pip install, and the library name is matplotlib, which is very straightforward, and everybody knows that I have already installed. So that's the reason I'm getting requirement is already satisfied, right? So basically, what you have to do, as we always do with the Python, is we have to just import the matplotlib library, matplotlib, right? Okay. Just to create a very simple graph with very few lines of code, inside this matplot library, we have a submodule called plot. And most of the time you will see, if you want to search, example related to matplotlib on a Google or ChatGPT, you will get that it is being aliased to PLT, right? This is how it actually happens. Now, what I'm going to do, just to keep it very simple, we know, I mean, if you want to draw a plot, you have to have an x-axis and a y-axis, right? I'm just talking about the two-dimensional graph, right? So in x-axis, let's say I can say x points, and let me just create simple 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And similarly, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create y, and I'm just going to give some random numbers, 10, 40, 20, 10, and 25. Okay, so I have two, list. One is representing the x-axis, another one is representing the data points on a y-axis. Now, what you have to do, it's very straightforward, right? All you need to do is you have to use this alias, which is nothing but is pointing to the submodule of a matplotlib, which is pyplot, and then you have to say plot. This is a very simple graph which we're gonna get, and you have to feed in two arguments, which is x points, x-axis, and then y underscore points. And for rest of the stuff, I'm just depending upon the default which we're gonna get. And the next thing which you have to do is plot ELT show. That's it. And if I just go to the terminal, and if I just run this, which is matplotlib, just come out from this, and if I just run Python matplotlib, okay, let's see what we're gonna get. So this is what we have. Got it, right? So now you can see on x-axis 0, the value was 10. Then we have 1 where we have a value 30. Like, so just see, I mean, how many lines of code we have written. We have just written 5 lines of code and we were able to create this plot, right? It's really awesome, right? And before we get into the real uses of that, we can just explore some more options which we have, which actually Matplotlib provide to us. Okay, so now we have to, in this graph, we have to tell, when we create this, I have created a one real-time graph. Let me just, through which I started, so here, model is sets, so let me just bring this chart here. Okay, so here you can see a lot of things, right? We have the name of this window, which is test execution analysis per release. Then we have testing system throughput among releases. Then y-axis, you can see the label execution time. On axis, you can see number of test cycle. Then you have a legend. I mean, like which color is representing, which graph, right? So these are the attributes which you can configure. So let me just kill this and let me just come out from this library. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, what we have to do to mark, the labels. Okay, so in Matplotlib, we have plt.x label, and we can give any name. What do you want to give? Let's say, just to keep it simple, sales. And then we can say y-axis, this is for label. And let's add title as well, like what title we want to give. So we'll do the title, and we can say first plot, and whatever you want to tell. Then what else you will be needing? I think that's good for now. Let's see if I have not made any mistake. Okay, hit this. Okay, so now we can see my first plot, then I can see y-axis and x-axis. As you can see, the one thing is we have to still change the window name. And for that, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy paste the syntax from here, and the syntax is very straightforward. Again, it's a PLT only. So before title, I can say something like this: get current figure manager, which is going to just give you the control of the figure where we are actually just drawing that. And then inside that figure, I'm just setting a window title, right? And through this, I can do this, right? So I can say my first figure to draw. Usually we don't give this long name, but just to be, and here we can provide something like that. Okay, so let's run it one more time and see. Okay, and can pull in here, and now you can see we have changed, this, right? We are good here. The next thing is we can see how we can add the legend, right? So just to add the legend, it's I'm just going to copy, few stuff here, uh, label and color. So, okay. But before we get into that, let's see, I mean, how we can have two different data points. Let's assume I wanted to give y1, and let's change a little bit, 20, 40, 70, 30, keep it 25. Okay. So all I need to do is just to copy paste this line, and instead of y, I have to just give y1 points, and let's run this one more time and see what we get. I'm just dragging, from my. Okay, so now you can see we have two lines, right? But now I want to represent which line has what actually these lines are signifying, right? So I can add the legend for that, right? So for that, what I'm gonna do, we can add, uh, and we can say uh, first experiment, and then I can say the color of my choice. Let's keep it red, simplicity. And if you just look at the documentation, for example, for colors, and there are a lot of good example, like, I mean, what value to be given. But if I just add these two parameter into this plot function of PLT, then, first experiment, and then let me just put second experiment. Yes. And then all I need to do is to just include legend as well, right? If I run this time, let's see what's happening. Okay, so cool. Now you can see I have, legend edit, which says first experiment means the red line is representing, the data points for the first experiment, whereas the blue lines is representing a second experiment, right? So these are different values through which we can, have a simple plot, right? Now, what else we can do with this? Okay, so instead of line, right? If you want to use something else, for example, dot, right, in place of line, right? What you can do. So all you need to do is, again, when you are plotting this, like, then you have to add another attribute which says line style equals to, and I want dot, right? So let's see what happens. And all those attributes, right, which keeps adding here, right? We can use dotted, for other one, we can use something else like dashed. Let's see, let's play with this and see what happens. Okay, so if I just run this again, let me pull in here. Okay, so now we can see we have given blue line, second experiment, dash, and the first experiment has, which is in red color, which is showing us dot, right? So this is the another thing which we can play with. The next thing is if we want to make, uh, sometime we would have seen in a plot that we have a grid. If you want to add that grid, that's again very easy. All we need to do is to, the way we have added a plt.legend, we can add plot grid, and let's see what happens. So now we can see the grid, right? That actually help us, to just more precisely see the values, right? I can easily understand the values, right? That's the only thing. And another flavor could be, in case you don't want, X and Y axis as a grid, you can say to grid is, I just want axis, and you can give X, right? And let's see what happens now. And let's just cancel this. Okay. But we have a lot of flexibility. Why I'm using all these different parameters? Because when I was trying to use this, I have to find a lot of I have to find these options, in a different places. Now I'm seeing, grid only for the x-axis, not for the y. If you don't give any, then it will give you the grid for x and y both axis, right? So that is how you can play with this. The other thing is, which is like subplot, right? So when you say subplot means if you want to, what we have done so far, we have, same x-axis, same data points on our x-axis, but we have a two different experiment and we want to just, have, all the plots on one particular, um, one plot. Basically, we want multiple experiment values representing on a one simple plot. But what if we want to have two different plots, right? At that point of time, we use, another, let me show you how that looks like, because that way it will be more clearer. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna keep so that, we can play with this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna keep the figure value same. Okay, in place of PLT, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say there is one function sub, then I have to provide three values. One is for rows and then columns, and the sequence of a plot. So let's say I want to say one row, two column, and this is my first plot, right? And this is what I'm gonna, okay. Then what I'm gonna say is this one. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna say, okay, this is my second plot. I have given, but let's keep it, remove this. I guess I don't want these now. Okay. I haven't made any mistake, then I should be able to see two plots in one figure. Yes, it looks like I'm able to, and I didn't made any mistake because I made so many mistakes today. So this is how you can see two plots, so rather than having two experiment value in a one single plot, if you want to add two, you know, so I'm just saying, I mean, this is just another option through which you can play with this, right? So there can be different requirement, and when you want to showcase, all the data points in one single graph, you can do it. If you want to create a different plots, you can use a subplot one, right? I think that's pretty much it, which I wanted to explain for this first video. In the next video, I'm gonna, take an example of a real-time requirement where we're gonna create a very simple program which is going to give us a more realistic kind of plot through which we can actually do our analysis, like in a very simple way, right? So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any feedback or any suggestion, please feel free to put that into the comment section. And whatever the code I have used, I will just upload to the GitLab repository, and I will just put that GitLab repository into the description part so that you can refer to that in case if you want to copy the code. Right. Thanks for watching this. Stay healthy and keep learning new things.